Let's flip it over to Los Angeles and Vancouver. We have seen this matchup recently in Stanley Cup final play, Stanley Cup playoff play. 2010 they met. The Canucks prevailed in 6 games in a very high-scoring series that begins on Wednesday night, 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 local and Pacific time. And obviously Vancouver, with the expectation of having Daniel Sedin back, plenty of stars that John Quick's going to have to worry about.
Sitting down on the job, but he's got his 4th of the year.
Stuffed with the glove of Luongo. Never say die. Luongo held it out.
Hendrick across. Sharpmaker scores. Daniel Sedin.
That's such a smart play by both Hendrick and Daniel. Hendrick grabs the score. Daniel Sedin, a win in overtime for Vancouver.
They're smiling again in Vancouver after a little bump in the road. They had an incredibly strong finish to the regular season to capture another President's Trophy. EJ, when you look at this, let's boil it down to goaltending. Why not? And where you feel
Vancouver goaltending?
There might be, but you got to be aware of what John Quick's playoff numbers are too. But let's start with the Canucks and how you see this playing out.
Well, it's going to be interesting, right, guys? I mean, as soon as Roberto Luongo has one bad moment in a game, you know, everybody will be wondering in the press box and the crowd in Vancouver certainly, you know, where's Corey Schneider? We got to run him in there. So again, there'll be a lot of the weight will be on Roberto Luongo. But you know, Vancouver Canucks, they play well in front of him. He has played well down the stretch. It is a nice luxury to have another guy there, I think, that you could put in and feel comfortable with. I think it will be a shorter leash. Everybody's talked about this. But there'll be a lot of focus on Roberto Luongo. There's no question about it.
I think the challenge for Luongo is not just about if he lets a bad goal in. It's more about if he gets outplayed by Jonathan Quick. If he plays well and Quick plays better, then the same calls will come. And that's a very difficult situation for the goaltender and the team. And I think how Alain Vigneault manages those two in that situation. It's one thing if they play poorly, if they're losing, that's one thing. But if he's just playing well, but not quite as well as Quick, that's another.
But you've managed those 2 goalie situations before to great success in the playoffs in 2002 and a Stanley Cup final appearance.
So the telling sign is if there's a goaltending change is when you got to pull them. If you do it in between games, especially if you got a 3-day block in between games in Vancouver, there's going to be a big problem in your locker room. You'll do it quietly. But if you see a goaltender get changed in the game, the chances are he's staying in for the next game. Interesting enough, President's Trophy, 8-1-1 in the last games, and we spend time talking about who's starting a goal for him or how long he gets to play. After being back-to-back President's Trophies, he's a pretty good goalie.
But everybody's been talking so much about John Quick, and rightfully so, because they want to make sure that he's not ignored because of where LA finished and that he is a Vezina Trophy finalist. Of course, that award to be picked by the general managers. But when you look at this series, who do you see as the best goaltender in the series?
Whoever stops the most pucks. They're that close. I know that sounds, but in any of them, there are teams that should win and there are teams that can win. And that's true for goaltenders as well. Any one of these 3 guys can steal a series and be a dominant force, and any one of them can be a GOAT, more so Luongo than the other 2. That's the pressure of being a #1 in the Canadian market.
Jonathan Quick has been the better goalie this year. The numbers he's put up with the support he's got. He's so used to playing in tight games and games there's not a lot of goals on his side. He's unflappable, never puts the onus on his team that can't score. He just goes out there and makes saves, gives his team a chance to win games, get in the playoffs, whatever they did this year. And I think that's why you have to say, certainly this year, Jonathan Quick has been the best. Zaffer, you mentioned his playoff numbers, their small sample size, have not been great. But I think the belief that he has in himself, the team in him, makes Jonathan Quick right now heading in the best goalie in the series.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. The LA Kings better score some goals for this guy. I mean, how do you lose 6 games in a season 1-0? You know, you lose 6. He's lost 6 games, 1-0 this year. The Kings have been shut out 10 times. Jonathan Quick is a good goaltender. Roberto Luongo is a real good goaltender. You know, Corey Schneider, if he comes into things, I mean, he's played really well this year. At the end of the day for this series, I figure Jonathan Quick's going to play real well. LA better find a way to score. The first 60 games, almost nothing. They were at the bottom of the league. The last 20, they've picked it up. We got to see if Jeff Carter's going to play. But for me, LA's got to support this guy.
You know, LA will be very comfortable playing in low scoring, tight checking, you know, one goal differential late in the game. They're not going to panic. They're not going to lose their system because they played the whole year like that. Every game was a tight scoring game. The
exact opposite of when they met in 2010, when in a 6-game series, the goal scoring was 25-18 in favor of Vancouver. That is a high scoring playoff series. And last year for LA against San Jose was pretty bizarre too. Prediction time. Who do you like in this series?
I'm going to take Vancouver Canucks. I think they're just that strong. They've been the best team.
I'm going Vancouver 5 games. I think they're playing well right now. There'll be no problem in net. Luongo will play very well. 5 games.
Vancouver in 6 for me. I like Vancouver the way they've been playing this year. They got through that year after going to a Cup final, 7-game disappointment. And what do? They come back and win the President's Trophy. I like the Canucks a lot.
Can't wait to see it play out. It's back-to-back President's Trophies for Vancouver. The last team to win consecutive years, although 1 year off in the middle, was Detroit, 04 and 06.